Okay, welcome to Roscommon County Board of Commissioners Special Meeting Agenda, Budget and Finance Commission of the Whole, October 27th, 2021. Everyone, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Item 3, roll call of board members, please. Michelle?
Russo,
Present.
Muckenthaler,
Yes.
Milburn,
Here.
Melvin,
Here.
Schneider.
Here. Item number 4, approval of the agenda, please.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion is made by Commissioner Melvin, seconded by Commissioner Russo to approve the agenda. Any further comment from any commissioner at this time? Hearing or seeing none, roll call.
Muckenthaler,
Yes.
Milburn,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Yes.
Russo.
Yes.
Okay, item number 5, public comment, agenda items only. Okay, item 6, new business. Roscommon County 2022 budget. Okay, Jody, I guess you're going to give us the highlights, correct?
Yes. So, I should probably pull my cheat sheet out. Generalized information. Where we sit currently is we balance. Yay. Big thank you to and to Bob for listening to me whine and giving me ideas on places to look. This is just, we talk about it every year, every other board meeting, how things just, what was it Jamie said, CPI is slightly above 5% this year. So obviously our consumer price index, as that increases, the cost of doing business increases, wages and things across the board continue to increase. So it's a spiral cycle that we are caught in. So every year we're looking at how do we expand and continue to provide the services at the level that our citizens expect and require and deserve, versus looking at where we go with the actual monetary budgets. So that, I think, has been probably our biggest continued look. We don't have money, over 15% in a fund balance to pull back on, nor do we want to pull back on the fund balance. The tax payment fund will be minimal this year as far as being able to provide any type of offsets for special projects. We do have included in here the additional money to make additional payments to the MERS. We've been doing $100,000 a year for the last 3 years now, basically directly from the interest that's earned on that account. We do have an additional $50,000 set aside that will allow us to finish out the engineering project for Houghton Lake, as well as work through that process for creation of special assessment districts in the court. So those things are in there. But after that, Rebecca has a certain amount of money she needs to make all of our townships and the village and our entities whole with uncollected taxes, without having to bond. And then additionally, we will have the potential for those homes that were sold and profits retained prior to the law being changed in the lawsuit under class action for tax foreclosure sales. So she included all that in under the policy and gave me a rough estimate of about $160,000 that would be available for special projects and repayment to MERS. So fun things. One of the things that the light bulb went off in my head is, as we were going through, is due to the change in laws for the state of Michigan, the entity that hosts the township or the village or the city that has a recreational marijuana facility receives a portion of excise tax annually, and the county in which a recreational marijuana facility exists receives a certain amount of excise tax. So we do have 3 known at this point. Those, of course, would have had to have been in existence for 2021 in order for us to collect. So that actually is an additional $84,000 in revenue for us. So that is one of the things that was kind of oh yeah, there is a little bit out there.
Are there new ones opening? Did that second one in Houghton Lake by Walmart open yet?
Yes.
Yes.
That's not in there yet.
No, I didn't include that in there. So if there were some that are open, we could potentially get a additional funding of 84, but I just went with the 3 known for 2021.
Now, and then it's that next road south. There's a growth center. Is that in operation yet? Does that pay?
At Emory, that's been an operation.
Yeah, that's the one that that was one of the ones that I counted.
Well, a grow operation and a retail marijuana all pay 28,000.
Last year it was 28,000. It could be slightly more or slightly less next year.
Lake's opening up too.
Oh, are they?
They're having a special
Okay.
meeting.
2 more?
Interesting.
All right, that's interesting.
So there is that. We do have a 2% increase in revenue sharing from 2021. However, my caveat to that, because Chairman and I discussed this, was it's off of what they actually ended up giving us in 2021, not what we were budgeted for.
Right.
So that makes our number a little lower than what we would have hoped it would have been, but still it's a slight increase, so that works. The budget does include a 3% cost of living for all non-union wage scales. Plus they're eligible for their step increases as their department heads have decided. There is a 2% increase per our contracts for our union personnel as well. As a reminder, they are in 5-year contracts. We do have the additional allocation of the MERS budgeted in there for an additional $100,000. The other portion that Noelle and I finally got around to changing this year is traditionally what we did with the MERS defined benefit portion of retirement was if there's 27 people that participate in MERS defined benefit, they give us the total chunk out of that actuarial that we're going to have to pay next year. And basically we divided it upon 27 people. Well, in talking to Jim Anderson, not this audit, but last audit, a truer account for that is each department pays for their retiree. So it doesn't change where the money in the total general fund, but it does change which department. So it'll be very hard this year to look and say, Michelle's, how much did the clerk ROD expenses increase this year, because her expenses look like they increased tremendously from your retirement, while they in turn didn't change at all except for the retirement. So that won't be a good way for us to go through things this year. We did not have an increase for dental or vision. We ended up with a 3% increase to the priority health now with the approved copay increases. We are set in this budget to maintain a 5% employee premium cost share for non-union employees. We do have a 2022 election. It is a gubernatorial year. That's a hard word. So you'll see an increase in those areas, obviously, because it's a much bigger election year. There is a continued trend in the Register of Deeds for increases in revenues based on the housing market. Obviously, this is going to be the last year we're going to be able to look at that. There's going to be a decrease beginning in 2023, and all of your trending for home sales supports that as well. GIS addressing continues as a standalone department now. We started that in this year. We do have in the budget a part-time equalization secretary. As you remember, we did not place that full-time secretary position this year when Trish retired. And I think that some of the departments would really appreciate having somebody in there, just a good couple solid hours a week, knowing exactly what's going on and being able to have a little bit more front facing. So that is put into the budget as well. We are budgeted for 2 full-time IT positions. The best way for me to explain our IT department is we've always had a full-time IT director. However, we've had Pat. And Pat makes a minimal amount of contracted money for a maximum amount of hours. If you tried to replace, just based on the amount of money that Pat earns under his contract, you would have somebody in there with Andy a day a week. And that's just not gonna work. So we are positioned for 2 full-time IT positions whenever Pat chooses to retire. So we do have that budgeted in there. And he's telling me, depending on everything, March, April, springish, mid-spring type of a time period. So, but who we pointing at?
Not Andy.
Well, he likes Andy right now. So that's
Right
why I
now,
got to spend,
that's
yeah.
the key word.
Because initially it was, if he didn't like the person we hired, he was gonna leave at the end of December. So. We're good. High five, Andy. Way to go. Okay. We do have a $50,000 allotment, as I said before, for the Houghton Lake Level Control Structure and Engineering Project and the Lake Level Assessment District creations. We have a additional $17,000 allocation to Sting for overtime. So that would put our deputy into overtime for Sting to help combat that area as well. This is the first time we've done that since I've been here. So we're pretty excited about that. Our Sting lieutenant is also very excited about that, by the way. The Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Sheriff this is very new, so even Ken and Bob have not heard this yet. There's apparently money coming forward under grants specific for jail COVID issues. How much, we don't really have that information yet, but guesstimating at what they may have or may not have, they did receive a grant line item for that as well. One of the other big things that's included in this budget for 2022 is the move for emergency management to go full-time. Currently, they have just approved a 50% reimbursement on salary and fringes for that position as well. So that is in there. We do have an increase in the child care fund allocation as approved by the board in August. That is a 7% increase. And there are 911 is budgeted for 13 full-time seats. May we ever get there? I don't know, but it is budgeted that way in hopes that we could see fruition of that. Sheriff's got a couple special things in his budget, all covered under the special 207, which would be the fund for the road patrol. But that is just looking at some additional contracted work for investigations for Northern Michigan Community Assessment Center as well. So for the most part, things look good. Now, we had some departments that requested allocations that there's absolutely no way you guys can fund. Nor am I going to recommend that you fund it to this point in time. One of those coming forward for a certain amount of money was the airport. They were asking for $45,000 in their machinery and equipment to purchase a large scale mower, which I appreciate and I understand the need for that. Traditionally, it's been about a $25,000 allocation. Here's the thing with the airport. Every year we have to give them more money. Every single year that I've been here. There has to be more control over the expenditures that happen into the airport. And I'm going to need your help and support in making sure that happens. They were, the airport in and of itself is not a revenue maker. We are all aware of that. If we fall short in gas sales for the year because it is not a great flying season, if for some reason the hangar rentals are to fall, we will not be able to, help but to allocate additional funding. However, when those things start to happen, just like every other budget that comes out of every other taxpayer funded money, we have to offset then our expenses to merge with those revenues that we are no longer receiving. If the airport ever has excess funds, they can keep those in a fund balance and use them for a special project the next year. They may even have the potential of that this year. They were awarded a $30,000 grant So that money actually is going to offset the portion, $30,000 worth of wages and fringes. My recommendation is they don't spend the $30,000 this year frivolously. I shouldn't say frivolous, but it should be approved by the board that oversees the airport prior to expenditure in consideration for the budget. So they had requested $75,000. They've received $50,000 in appropriation. I do believe that there are some additional grant fundings that will come through to assist them. But that's probably that biggest area that, again, you look at, if you have to choose this year between giving money to juvenile detention, which we have no choice for, or giving additional funding to the airport, those are the hard sells. So I think that potentially our airport is on a good track to do a better job with the assistance that Eric will be receiving from the airport manager now in tracking the budget. So hopefully conversations won't be too hard and they'll be easily managed. One of the big areas that I have to converse with them in is understanding that because they receive an allocation from the general fund, it doesn't mean if they spend more than the allocation that we're going to make the difference up all the time. It needs to be, you've been allocated $50,000 and this is your money to spend. So when I tell you that your cash balance and you only have $18,000 left to spend for the rest of the year, you only have $18,000 cash left to spend for the rest of the year. So that's my segue into other fun things. So that in essence is where we sit. Overall, the budget for the general fund has a slight increase. We don't tend to increase overall very much since I've been here in expenditures or revenues. Obviously, there was a slight uptick in our tax bill, but that only actually ends up equating to about $45,000 in collections for taxable value. Jamie spoke to that, I know, as she always does at her report every year. Fees and fines in district court with all of the changes are slightly lower than we traditionally have anticipated. With that being said, we are looking at an overall general fund with revenues and expenditures of $10,285,737.88, because Bob loves it when I throw cents on things instead of rounding it for him.
Give me that again. 10,000, 10 million.
10,285,737.
737. Thank you.
Yes. And in comparison to where we sat in 2021's budget, we were at $9,728,562. And that is with still keeping your 15% fund balance into 2022. So.
Correct. Okay. Any questions? That was a lot to throw at you in these budgets. Yes, sir.
Thanks for your report on the airport committee. Dave and I, full disclosure, sit on that airport committee. If you'd be so kind as to relay those same thoughts, we have an airport committee meeting, I think next Thursday at 10 o'clock. I believe that you would get the same support that you just requested. I think you'll get that from the board. Just wanted to throw that out there so that you wouldn't wonder. And I know that we do have our meeting next Thursday at 10 o'clock. I do know that this is going to be, I know we talk about challenges, but it looks like a problem for the following year, because from what I've been told and understand that inflation is at an all-time high for the last 30 years. So we're going to have a lot of interesting situations pop up this year. I don't know about anybody else here in this room, but everything that I buy the last couple months has gone up exponentially, not 5 or 6%, but sometimes as much as 20-25% for services. So I think we may see the same. This is going to be really a tough year ahead of us as we move forward into the 22-23 year. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Okay. You got anything?
Oh, just a couple of things. The state in their infinite wisdom said that the people that need to get their driver's licenses reinstated, and they used to have to pay all their fines, penalties, costs and such things before they could get their license back. Part of our revenue loss from the courts is now you don't have to pay, get your driver's license back. And also, we have no method of ensuring that that money ever gets paid. They get their driver's license, they don't have to pay. You may as well not even put any fines and costs on there. It's ridiculous, but that's one thing. Another thing we came across in the budget was we still have a landfill. We still have a landfill budget. And I suggested that Jody was going to look at and see if there's anything we can do with that. We have a landfill, it's not in operation. Could we sell it? Could we put it back in operation to generate revenue for the county? I don't know. She'll come back and say, no, it's prohibitively costly to operate a landfill, or the state says we can't sell it. But in the meantime, we got a landfill that we're paying on, and it's just sitting there and costing us money. Well, that's where we stand on that. I don't know if the rest of the board has any.
I ask every year if we can get rid of it, and every year we can't. And I already know what the answer was, and I did ask, but I understand what, opting to open an landfill, that would cost millions of dollars that we haven't got. And
I did email, so when I get a response, I will let you know what it says.
right, so anyway, Jody's
$20,000.
reached $20,000, and unfortunately, I've been here for 14 years and it's been going on for that
And
time.
a $3 million bond that's set aside someplace.
Right. Right. And we have to pump it. We have to pump the, what's it called? Leachate or lactate or whatever it's called. That has to be pumped every month. So it's an ongoing expense. We can check, but I can pretty much guarantee you what the answer is going to be. But we can check.
I will add though, that it used to be 25,000 because we paid somebody to go out there and do that. And our, Nick, our director for maintenance, they have taken that on in the maintenance department. So that is just a portion of their duties now. So now we don't have to pay somebody annually to do that. That is just something that maintenance is doing. So, and honestly, aside from the snakes that are out there, I think each of them enjoys having an hour out there, just kind of in that peace and quiet. So.
Okay. Anybody else got anything on the budget? All right, let's go down through these review of the proposed motions. Item B. Item 1, move to institute employee health insurance premium contributions for 2022 calendar/fiscal year at 5% of the annual health insurance premium, pre-tax and based on health insurance carrier's definition of plan types. Employee under labor contracts are not currently subject to premium contribution based on existing labor contracts. The rate shall be as follows. A single person is 1044, and it only went up 3%, right? Because we were at the 5% last year, right?
So oddly, Noelle and I had to go back and we had to double check this. With the rate change for 3%, but the change in rates, it's about 1 cent per individual. We had to go back, we had to double check everything from last year to this year. So essentially there's no change for the employees. You'll pay the same thing out. There's a reallocation on the premiums for how much monthly single, 2-person and family. So those changed a little bit. So your 2-person went up.
That 1040,
Yes,
that 1044 on a single person is every 2 weeks.
correct.
So it's $20, just under $21 a month. And just over
Which is cheap.
right. And for 2 persons, it's just over $25.10. And for a family, it's $62.62 for a family. Okay. Well, that's all reflected in there. So that one there, we've already discussed that. We just have to do the motion on it. Okay. Number 2 is move to authorize allocation of $217,293 to the Central Michigan District Health Department for fiscal year 2022, which is the same as it was for 2021. That last motion that we did last time, did that copy get sent to them by any chance?
No, but I will do that. I assumed
can
you tell
take
them
it.
the bad news.
Huh?
I assumed you tell them the bad news.
Well, I can take it with me. How about if I do that? I'll take it in writing and I'll tell them, all right?
Dr. Stevenson, could you get him a official copy of
Minutes or just a copy of
a certified resolution? Probably just the motion's fine.
Just the motion that it was defeated 3-1. In other words, so that, and whatever, I'll take it back. It's no big deal. They will put it into, oh, crap, escape me what the word's name of it is right now. Special, it's a special charge that they'll services.
Surcharge.
Surcharge. Thank you. Surcharge. So, okay, I'll hand carry that down there today, okay? Item number 3 is a move to authorize appropriation of $50,000 for the airport fund. So that's one we can't afford. Number 4 is move to authorize appropriation of $57,425 to Northern Lakes Community Mental Health Authority for fiscal year 2022. Is that the same as 21?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Move to authorize the appropriation of $120,000 to the Friend of the Court for fiscal year 2022, and that is not in our budget, correct?
That is in our budget? Yes. To appropriate to Friend of the Court, that is to their 215, the special Friend of the Court fund. We are anticipating collections of about $80,000 that come back to the general fund. So that's increased. Those collections are anticipated to increase about 5%, and their appropriation will increase about the same.
So that's in the budget.
Yes, sir.
The airport's not in the budget unless we
Nope, the
authorize it.
airport's in the budget is 50,000. It's not in at the 75. So
Oh, okay.
the airport requested 75,000. They are in our budget for an allocation of 50,000.
Well, that is in the budget.
So I want to understand this. We're looking at a no vote.
No, you're okay at 50,000.
Okay.
We're okay at
because
50,000.
What Bob said,
Glad you clarified that, yes.
because I wrote no with a question mark, like, huh?
All right.
So that's a yes, because I don't want to put a motion on that we're going to vote no down just for grins.
Right.
Make sure we do impact.
That's why I'm going over this
So
thing.
it's
Right?
a yes. Okay, good.
Okay, and number 5 with the 120,000 is in the budget, it is accounted for, okay. Number 6, move to authorize the appropriation of $201,675,000 to the Indigent Defense Fund for year fiscal 2022. We get that money back also.
The 201, that is our half. And then they actually pay a little bit more than our half. But that 201,675 is directly from the general fund for indigent defense. It is up slightly, but last year was 199,978, or as I rounded it, 200,000.
All right, that's what we're mandated on that. Item 7, move to authorize the appropriation of $113,140 to the Michigan State University Extension to provide the following services. Fiscal year 2022 agriculture, agribusiness, child and youth development, including 4-H, health and nutrition, community enrichment, food and environment, forestry, and gypsy moth oversight. So is that the same?
That is a slight increase of $1,140.
Okay. Item 8 is move to authorize a hiring of a part-time equalization secretary at 20 hours per week effective January 1st, 2022.
But I asked Mr. Chair, what's it's great that we're doing that, but what's the pay? We need to have, we should have a dollar amount in there.
Well, we can have the grade and it
That's
would
what
be
I'm
the
looking
wage
for.
grade. Okay.
Just so we know where we started from. Otherwise, I'm authorizing.
Probably on the back page.
Grade 3.
3.
Yes.
Grade 3, step 1.
What is the dollar amount for grade 3, step 1?
Right here in the back.
Maybe around 15,000, wasn't it?
I can't,
1604 to 1925 is the range.
okay, if we can put that in motion, I'd appreciate it, Mr. Chair.
What grade is it hired at?
Grade 3,
And the range is what?
$16.04 to 1925.
For 2022.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, but before we get to 9, if we could be so kind as to consider the same request for 9.
Well, under 9, that's one we need to have some discussion on. Move to authorize a change in that status for emergency management director from part-time to full-time effective January 1st, 2022. That's for 1 year. There's no guarantees that we can fund that the second year, because if that $50,000 or whatever dries up, we're not going to be able to do that. Am I correct? Did I understand that right in our budget meeting?
Yeah, that would be the one thing that we did discuss on this position, and I know that Director Beatty is on the phone, so that's a good thing. Was obviously for this budget year, we're putting in the intention of the Board of Commissioners would be to continue this as a full-time position with the grant reimbursements, but any position that comes with grant funding is always subject under our
Correct.
lives.
And then we need to make sure that's in the motion, otherwise it stands as read. So the motion needs to ensure that the grant, this part of the discussion is added in the motion.
How do you want that worded, Mr. Milburn?
Jody just did it.
Right, and I can add that, and just so we're aware, traditionally, this is a 30% match grant, which is fine and has worked well for us before, so.
I just know that had grant funding attached to it, and if that grant funding, unfortunately, if that grant funding goes away, then we're stuck. Okay, we're on board with that?
Sir.
Item 10, move to adopt as recommended by the Wage and Compensation Committee, non-union employee wage scale effective January 1st, 2022 with the following modifications. At 9 needs to come out of modifications. From 2021, 3% increase for all grades. So this motion would cover our 3% increase for all general
That is correct.
and elected positions.
Yep, this is correct. Yep,
Okay, and it's reflected in the wage scale
correct.
all the way through. Okay. Item 11 is a resolution to adopt 2021/1101, the 2011 Public Act 152, Publicly Funded Health Insurance Contribution Act Resolution for fiscal 2022. Do I need to read that whole thing? We have to do that every year, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Just double check and make sure nothing says 2021 and it only says 2022.
right. You did catch the modifications, and 9 needs to come out, right?
Yes, sir.
Preferably,
Okay, right.
the levity.
Okay. And our total budget is $10,285,737. We're able to accommodate everything. The cooperation of everybody
By the skin of our teeth.
Good
by
job,
the skin
guys.
of our teeth. Which-
And that would be your general fund. Just for hex and giggles of the amount of money through the budget that comes in, including all of your drainage, your tax payments, the money that we bring in for other entities through taxes, et cetera. Your 2022 budget for revenue collections is $35,092,179. So that includes everything we collect for all of the special millages, Commission on Aging millages, Road Commission millages, all the fun special things, and the tax payment fund. And then I'm going to remind you of one more thing. So we are looking at right now, today is October 27th. I will have the public hearing notice in the paper next week. And then the meeting for November 10th will actually be where the Board of Commissioners will hold the public hearing during the regular meeting. We will also have all of these motions up for vote with corrections. And then you will actually approve the budget at the November 24th. That would be where you would adopt with the General Appropriations Act and the fancy budget package that I like to make to you, which I will have ready by the 10th as well. So that way, just if anything comes from the meeting on the 10th, we do have a cow scheduled for afterwards,
Yeah, I was gonna
which
say,
would allow us to make those changes as well.
okay, right on schedule. A little hairy there for a while, but we made her.
You guys did great. Thank you.
Okay. So with that, there's no motions and resolutions because these motions will be brought forward at our next regular meeting, right?
Yep.
Yep. Item 8, any public comment at this time, please? Going once, going twice?
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second. Aye.
All those in favor signify by saying to adjourn. Aye.
Cody and Bob, I have a 9:30 booster